When I was around 7 years old, I thought my family had disappeared forever. It was Sunday. I was playing when the call came. Time to go to church. My mom was herding 7 kids and my dad toward the station wagon, making sure we all looked presentable. I didn't go. Instead, I hid until she stopped calling. When I finally came out, the house was silent. No voices, no footsteps, no station wagon out front. I searched every room, then stepped onto the porch and stared at the empty driveway. It hit me. I'll never forget how alone and frightened I felt. I started to cry. And then I heard a soft sound, a sweeping, a bump, bump, bump. It was a tail brushing on the floor. In the foyer, next to his dented steel food pot, lay Smokey, our Samoyed. Without lifting his head, he raised his eyebrows and wagged his tail like he was asking me, "What's wrong?" I lay down beside him and fell asleep in his fur. I didn't feel alone anymore. I felt safer. Then I ask you today, who would look after Smokey if we all went away? That question sounds sentimental until you realize something. Without your own personalized plan, the law supplies a default plan for you. And under the default rules, your pet is property. Not a child, not a dependent, not a family member. Property. That single classification is why pet planning isn't a cute side note. It's structural, because when you disappear temporarily or permanently, the system doesn't ask what you meant or what your dog meant to you. The law applies the default. Let's start with incapacity, not death. Not someday, but incapacity. I've seen this up close. When I was president of the local animal shelter, we'd get the same kind of call again and again. Someone is in the hospital and their dog is at home alone. Or the dog was left outside the emergency room because no one knew what else to do. And for a lot of older folks, that animal isn't just a pet. It's their closest companion, their routine, their reason to get up. Incapacity can be a stroke, a fall, a diagnosis that doesn't seem serious until it is. A hospitalization that stretches longer than expected. If you become incapacitated and no one has clear legal authority over your pets, your dog doesn't automatically go to the person who loves them most. Someone has to be able to take care of your dog and be allowed in your home if needed. They may need to pick your dog up from a kennel or a boarding facility. They need authority to sign vet forms and pay for care. Without that authority, the system slows down and formalizes. Decisions move into court procedures, and court takes months to resolve. Court actions are designed for assets, not living creatures with routines and anxiety and medical bills. Affection and loyalty curdle in bureaucracy. That's my experience. And here's the hard edge. Your dog can have a willing caretaker and still have no one who can legally pay the vet. That's not dramatic. That's just how the system works. The emergency isn't always, does someone care? A lot of times it's, can someone act? Now let's move to death. In my estate planning interviews, I always ask about pets. What planning do we need to do for your animals? I'll ask. Occasionally someone says, my daughter loves the dog. Nothing needs to be said. Or, I'll give my brother the dog. Or, I'll leave some money to whoever takes care of him. This is where plans look responsible, but really, quietly fail. I'll leave the dog to my daughter. My brother will take care of him. Sometimes with money attached. It sounds clean, but often the dog falls between the cracks, or worse. If you leave the pet outright to a caregiver, that caregiver owns the pet. If you leave the pet plus a lump sum, they own the pet and the money. No required accounting, no enforceable standard of care, no oversight mechanism, no structural incentive alignment. Just the other day, a client said something blunt in my office when we were designing his estate plan. He said, my dog can't speak for himself. I want to tell you about him." Then he said, "I'm afraid if I leave money with the dog, the worst kind of person will take the dog, kill him, and keep the money." It's a dark thought, but it's not crazy. It's a recognition of incentives. A lump sum gift rewards possession, not care. And even when everyone involved is decent, life changes. A move, a new spouse who hates animals or maybe is allergic, a baby, a job loss, a landlord who says no. Suddenly your thoughtful plan becomes a burden, and burdens create resentment, and resentment turns obligations into conflicts. Good intentions don't survive pressure. Structure does. Let me give you a real example. A man had a dog he adored. Older dog, expensive medications, precise routine. He told everyone, "My sister will take care of him." And in the will, the dog went to the sister. He died unexpectedly. The sister did take the dog at first. Then the conflict started. The dog needed ongoing veterinary care. The sister expected reimbursement from the estate. The executor hesitated. Other family members began questioning whether the spending was reasonable. Receipts became evidence. Tone shifted. The sister felt accused. The executor felt exposed. The rest of the family felt suspicious. The dog declined quickly under the stress of transition. It ended with the sister saying something that sticks with you. "I love the dog, but I can't afford to be punished for it." Nobody in that family was cruel. The plan just wasn't built for real life. When you don't plan, the person who says yes becomes the person who pays financially and emotionally. And when they start paying, everyone else starts having opinions. The conflict isn't about the dog, it's about structure. You have to be explicit, right? Develop it, make some structure in your plan. That way there's no arguing and no doubt about who gets what and what they're entitled to. Most people assume their pet will be fine, that someone will step in, that family will figure it out. That's the affection you feel for your own pet, that you think that affection is universal somehow, right? I always say it this way. Everyone loves his own garden best. Your garden is that place you spend hours and it gives you real happiness. But without you, to someone else, it's just a dirt patch. It's the same with pets. We all love our own pets the best. My dog comes to work each day. Zoe sits under the desk and she puts her head on my client's feet while they answer questions about their estate plans. Let me tell you a story about the first time I saw a dog in a law office. Bill was a mentor of mine. His standard poodle, Winston, Bill called him Winnie, was basically a second personality in the office. Bill adored Winnie, and because Bill adored him, Winnie got away with stuff. One afternoon, an elderly client, well into her 80s, finally made it up to our office to talk about her husband's will. She stepped in, still catching her breath, from the steps. Winnie stood up and started humping her. The room froze. Bill laughed. Winnie even bit me once when I was dog sitting for Bill. Bill's answer to all this was, "What did you do to provoke him?" And that was the dynamic. Winnie was loved and indulged, but didn't have much structure. And when Bill was around, it almost worked because Winnie was shaped around that one person. And when that one person was gone, it wasn't good for Winnie. Bill got sick fast, and suddenly the dog who worked in Bill's orbit was standing in everyone else's way. There was no plan for Winnie, no funding for training, no caregiver ready for a powerful, half-trained dog with boundary issues. The family was grieving. The estate had moving parts, and shock narrows attention. Options for Winnie narrowed very quickly, so Winnie was put down. That's not a moral lesson, it's a structural one. If you don't name a plan, the world names one for you. And the world's plan is rarely built around loyalty. So people respond to this by saying, "Okay, fine, I'll create a pet trust." And that's a better instinct. But here's the nuance. A pet trust only works if someone other than the caregiver is watching the money, because your dog can't question a withdrawal. Your cat can't demand a receipt. Your parrot can't hire a lawyer. So if the same person controls the care and the cash, there's no accountability. And without accountability, a trust isn't protection. It's just a suggestion. Real pet planning is not one document. It's a system built for the two moments that break most plans: incapacity and death. On the incapacity side, you need durable authority that explicitly allows someone to take custody, enter property if necessary, pay for care, authorize veterinary treatment, transfer ownership if prolonged incapacity makes continued care unrealistic. Okay? And on the death side, if you want maximum protection, you don't just transfer the animal. You separate roles when appropriate. You align funding with responsibility. You create enforceable standards. You build oversight. Because caregivers perform labor, physical labor, emotional labor. They put their time, and time is your life, right? If the structure ignores that reality, resentment eventually fills the gap. And written instructions matter. Food routines, medications, triggers, the vet history, behavioral notes. Like my client said, his dog cannot speak for himself. Those details are not sentimental. They're operational. Smokey, my beloved family pet from my youth, Smokey, they called him the mayor of the neighborhood. He wasn't legally our family, but to a 7-year-old boy in an empty house, he was protection, reassurance, and companionship. And Winnie wasn't legally family to Bill either, right? But in that law office, Winnie was warmth. He was comic relief in the midst of serious work. And when Bill died, absence, not malice, decided Winnie's outcome. The real issue isn't whether you love your pet. The real issue is whether your legal structure matches the life you're actually living. Because if it doesn't, the law will help you by applying the default. And the default was never designed for loyalty. If your dog disappeared tomorrow, you know how you'd feel. If you disappeared tomorrow, imagine how your dog is going to feel. If this hit home, don't let the default plan be your plan. If you love your dog, build a structure that widens the options instead of narrowing them. If you want more practical planning like this, stick with us. Share this with someone who loves their animals. I'm Jesse Bifulco. This is Lifecast, the Life Counsel podcast. Please like, subscribe, and drop your questions in the comments. I've drafted many trusts like that and many plans like that, and I'm happy to answer questions. Thank you.